Shalom everyone! Today I'm going to continue the series of the stories of the Tzaddikim, and I'm going to speak about a rabbi of the name Rabbi Chaim Yosef David Azulai, also popularly known as the Chida. In fact, the Chida itself is an acronym of his name that comprised of a Chet, Yud, Dalet and an Aleph, which naturally stands for Chaim, which is a Chet, Yosef, David Azulai. Okay, who was he? He was an incredible Torah scholar that lived around 250 years back, and he was born naturally in Jerusalem from a Sephardic family, from the Sephardi side originally, and he was an incredible person, someone of a great magnitude. He was born in Jerusalem and went to yeshiva at a very young age. They say that he had a photographic memory. He was able to, any book he was learning, he was able to remember the different people, the different opinions of the different rabbanim and everything. He had a magnitude of worldly knowledge also. He knew different languages, many different languages. And he was a people's person, very chatty. He was able to speak and relate to everybody in an incredible way. And he had like a beautiful appearance also, a majestic appearance. And he was living in Hebron, and at the time in Hebron, there was a lot of poor families in Israel, and they appointed a person that was to be seen as a person that's of the greatest stature in the area, in Israel. And they appointed him to go to the foreign lands, to different countries, in order to become a shaliach, in order to raise money and funds to help these poor families. Also, part of the objective when he was to go to outside of Israel was so that he'll give esteemed Torah talks to inspire the people, the different Jewish communities across the world. And oh boy, he did this in an incredible manner. In fact, he traveled as an appointed shaliach to different lands, including Great Britain, England and everywhere, also in Tunisia, in Holland, in France, in Italy, in Germany. He went all over the world to raise these funds and give these Torah lectures. In fact, there was an interesting story once. Many miracles are associated with the Chida, with Rabbi Azulai. One time he was walking in Amsterdam, and it was a snowy, ice-cold day in Amsterdam, and he fell down very badly, and he was unconscious. And, luckily, shortly afterwards, a couple of hours later, he was able to go to the synagogue, regain consciousness. He was going to give a lecture, but he realized he had a loss of vision at that point in time, and he was worried he was going to lose his eyesight, possibly temporarily or possibly even permanently. So he told the congregation he's going to do a long tefillot and daven for, hopefully he'll get better. He did a long tefillot, and at the end of it, after the prayers, he was able to see again miraculously, and the congregation were in awe of him. They were memorized by this that had occurred. He was able to relate to all the different communities where he went to, all the different countries, because he was multilingual. He was such a genius, he knew all the different languages, so he was able to grasp the different people. He was also able to go and connect with the different communities all across Europe. Despite being of Sephardic ascent at that time, there was a divide between the Sephardim and the Ashkenazim 250 years ago, but the Ashkenazic communities were very mesmerized by him, by his incredible stature and his incredible wealth of knowledge. At one time, even he was going to meet King Louis XVI in France. So as the Chida, Rabbi Azulai, went to the palace in the area of Versailles, next to Paris, where there was a palace, King Louis straight away saw the majestic appearance of the Chida, of Rabbi Azulai, and actually mistook him as a foreign ambassador, he thought he was, because he was in such awe. He was so mesmerized by the way he looked, he appeared, and his tzniut, the way he related to the people. And many great foreign luminaries were fascinated by the Chida's wealth of knowledge, with his appearance, with everything he knew. He was in touch with everything, and he loved going to the libraries all across the world, the great libraries of Italy and in France. And he was able to, when he would go there, he'd always look at the Hebrew scriptures that they possessed inside the library to compare what was going on in different countries, how they looked at the Hebrew language, and that the historians and at the Hebrew poetry and the different halachot In fact, he wrote none less than 85 books, according to one different source. Another source says that he wrote up to 100 books in his lifetime, where he only lived around 80 years, just over 80 years or something, and he was able to do that fascinating work. What's interesting, his two most famous books was a book of the name Birkei Yosef, which was a commentary on the Code of Jewish Law, which is the Shulchan Aruch. Also, he did another book, which was the name of the Shem HaGedolim, which is another very popular book that people learn nowadays. And not just that, people, even in modern day, aspire to him in all the different communities over the world. And many of the great Sephardic thinkers use his commentary in many of their different books. He is known as Maran. Maran is a title of a man that has received more than 200 smicha, rabbinic ordinations, from 200 different rabbis. That's the great statue he was. And he was also used very much by a lot of the Ashkenazim commentators in the Torah. None less than Rabbi Akiva Eger, who was of a great stature, used to use him in his commentary of the Shulchan Aruch. And also a great rabbi of the name of the Chatam Sofer. Always he expressed great respect for him at every stage in his life. So he was a great rabbi that traveled the world for twice, for 5 years at a time. He went all throughout, and in the year 1778 he finally dwelled and settled in the land of Livorno. And that's why there was great publishing and press in that area, and he was able to publish many of his books and write many of his books at that stage of time in his last long chapter of life. He always refused to take an official rabbinic position, and in the land of Livorno they appointed him as like an unofficial chief rabbi of the area, where he was able to lead the community in an unofficial way for many, many years before he had passed away. And he left a phenomenal impact upon all of world Jewry, even nowadays. He was really, really a great rabbi, a great thinker, and all different Jews of all different walks of life, whether they are Haredi or modern Orthodox or a different affiliation, could certainly connect to him in some way or another with his superior intelligence supreme. He was such a great character. He was such a great rabbi. Zecher Tzaddik Libracha. And may I dedicate this to anyone that, God forbid, is at the moment suffering from the coronavirus again. There's another wave going on here in Israel and apparently throughout the world. So hopefully this virus is going to disappear soon. And anyone that needs a refuah shalema for this is going to Bezrat Hashem receive one. I want to wish you all a fantastic day, and stay tuned for the next class of the next great rabbi. Have a phenomenal day, guys. Bye.